Sarah makes $75,000 a year, lives in a modest apartment, rarely goes out to expensive restaurants, and yet every month she wonders where her money went. She's not alone. Millions of people are trapped in what psychologists call invisible poverty patterns, seemingly harmless daily habits that drain wealth so subtly, most never realize they're happening. Picture this scenario. Marcus, a software engineer in Austin, earns six figures but somehow lives paycheck to paycheck. He's not buying luxury cars or taking expensive vacations. He's not even particularly materialistic. Yet every month, his bank account tells the same story: more money going out than staying in, with no clear explanation of where it all went. Marcus represents millions of people caught in what I call the invisible wealth leak, a collection of seemingly innocent daily habits that, when compounded over time, create a financial black hole. The fascinating thing about these habits isn't that they're obviously destructive. It's that they masquerade as responsible, normal, or even financially smart decisions. The psychology behind this phenomenon runs deeper than most realize. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification and short-term thinking, remnants from our evolutionary past when survival depended on securing resources quickly. This ancient programming creates blind spots in our modern financial lives, causing us to make decisions that feel right in the moment but systematically undermine our long-term wealth building. The first invisible habit keeping people broke is what behavioral psychologists call convenience premiuming, the tendency to consistently choose the more expensive option simply because it's easier or faster. This isn't about occasional splurges. It's about unconscious patterns that compound into significant wealth drainage. Consider how Rebecca, a marketing manager in Denver, approaches her daily routine. She stops at the coffee shop near her office every morning instead of making coffee at home, not because she can't afford a coffee maker, but because those extra 10 minutes of sleep feel more valuable than the money she's spending. She orders lunch delivery instead of meal prepping, pays for premium streaming services she rarely uses, and chooses brand name products without comparing prices. Each individual decision seems trivial. What's $5 for coffee, or $15 for lunch delivery? But the psychology of small, repeated financial decisions creates what economists call death by a thousand cuts. Rebecca spends approximately $3,200 more per year on convenience alone, money that could have been invested to generate passive income. The deeper issue isn't the money itself, but the mindset these habits reinforce. Every time we choose convenience over conscious spending, we strengthen neural pathways that prioritize immediate comfort over long-term wealth. We train our brains to view money as a tool for avoiding minor inconveniences rather than a resource for building financial freedom. The second habit destroying wealth operates through social psychology, the unconscious drive to match the spending patterns of people around us. This goes far beyond keeping up with the Joneses. It's a subtle recalibration of what we consider normal spending based on our social environment. Take David, a teacher in Phoenix, who moved to a neighborhood where most residents earn significantly more than he does. Without consciously deciding to change his lifestyle, David found himself gradually increasing his spending on home improvements, dining out, and entertainment. His brain was unconsciously calibrating his spending to match what seemed normal in his new environment. The psychology here involves mirror neurons, brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe others performing the same action. When we're constantly exposed to certain spending patterns, our brains begin to internalize those patterns as appropriate or necessary. This creates what researchers call lifestyle inflation creep, where our expenses gradually increase not based on our income or goals, but based on our social environment. What makes this particularly insidious is that it happens slowly and feels justified. David genuinely believes he needs these upgrades and experiences because everyone around him has them. His brain has redefined his baseline for what constitutes normal living, making it nearly impossible to recognize how much his spending has increased. The wealthy understand this psychological trap and actively guard against it. They consciously choose their reference groups and deliberately surround themselves with people who reinforce wealth-building behaviors rather than wealth-draining ones. They recognize that environmental influence on spending decisions operates below the level of conscious awareness, so they engineer their environment to support their financial goals. The third wealth-destroying habit appears counterintuitive because it masquerades as financial responsibility: the tendency to spend excessive time and mental energy optimizing small financial decisions while ignoring larger wealth-building opportunities. This is what I call penny-wise, pound-foolish behavior, but it's more psychologically complex than simple misplaced priorities. Meet Jennifer, a nurse practitioner who spends hours each week researching the best deals on groceries, comparing insurance rates, and hunting for coupon codes. She takes pride in saving $20 here and $30 there, feeling accomplished when she finds a good deal. However, Jennifer has been putting off starting an investment account for 3 years because she feels overwhelmed by the complexity and doesn't want to make the wrong decision. The psychology behind this pattern involves what cognitive scientists call decision fatigue, the deteriorating quality of decisions made after a long session of decision-making. When we exhaust our mental energy on small financial optimizations, we have less cognitive bandwidth available for the larger, more impactful financial decisions that actually build wealth. This habit also serves an emotional function. Small financial wins provide immediate psychological rewards, a hit of dopamine when we save money or find a good deal. These small victories feel concrete and controllable, while bigger financial decisions involve uncertainty and potential loss, triggering our brain's loss aversion mechanisms. Perhaps the most subtle wealth-destroying habit involves spending money to maintain a self-image rather than building actual wealth. This psychological trap operates through what social psychologists call identity verification, the unconscious drive to spend money in ways that confirm our sense of who we are. Consider Thomas, a financial analyst who prides himself on being sophisticated and well-educated. He subscribes to premium publications, attends expensive networking events, and buys high-quality business attire because these purchases align with his professional identity. While none of these expenses are inherently wasteful, Thomas is unconsciously prioritizing identity maintenance over wealth building. The psychology here involves the endowment effect, our tendency to overvalue things we own or identify with. When purchases become tied to our sense of self, we lose the ability to evaluate them objectively. We start viewing expenses as investments in our identity rather than actual financial decisions, which makes it nearly impossible to reduce or eliminate them. Identity spending is particularly dangerous because it feels virtuous and necessary. Thomas genuinely believes his professional expenses are investments in his career, and to some extent, they might be. But the psychological satisfaction of identity confirmation often outweighs the actual financial benefit, leading to significant wealth drainage over time. Wealthy individuals understand that their net worth, not their possessions or lifestyle, represents their true financial success. They're willing to live below their means and make purchases based on practical value rather than identity reinforcement. Breaking free from these invisible wealth-draining habits requires more than willpower or financial education. It requires what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to think about your thinking patterns and recognize when automatic behaviors are working against your goals. The first step involves conducting what I call a habit audit. For 1 week, track every financial decision you make, no matter how small, and ask yourself, what psychological need is this purchase meeting? Most people discover that their spending patterns serve emotional functions, stress relief, social belonging, identity confirmation, or convenience, rather than practical needs. The second step requires environmental design. Our habits are largely products of our environment, so changing our financial behaviors requires changing our environmental cues. This might mean unsubscribing from promotional emails, avoiding certain stores or websites, or even changing your daily route to work to avoid tempting spending triggers. The third step involves what behavioral economists call commitment devices, systems that make it harder to engage in unwanted behaviors. This could include automatic transfers to savings accounts, using cash instead of cards for discretionary spending, or creating social accountability by sharing your financial goals with trusted friends or family members. The fundamental difference between wealth-building habits and wealth-draining habits lies not in the specific behaviors themselves, but in the underlying mindset that drives decision-making. Wealthy individuals view money as a tool for creating options and opportunities, while people stuck in wealth-draining patterns view money as a tool for solving immediate problems or fulfilling immediate desires. This mindset difference manifests in how they approach trade-offs. When faced with a spending decision, wealthy individuals automatically ask, "What opportunity am I giving up by spending this money now?" This isn't about deprivation or extreme frugality. It's about maintaining awareness of the opportunity cost inherent in every financial decision. They also understand what psychologists call temporal discounting, the tendency to value immediate rewards more highly than future rewards. By developing systems that make future benefits more tangible and immediate, they overcome this natural bias. They might visualize their future financial freedom, calculate the compound growth of investments, or create milestones that provide psychological rewards along the wealth-building journey. Most importantly, they recognize that building wealth is ultimately about building systems, not relying on willpower. They create automatic processes that support their goals, remove friction from wealth-building behaviors, and add friction to wealth-draining behaviors. Transforming these insights into actual behavior change requires specific, actionable strategies that work with your psychology rather than against it. The key is starting small and focusing on systems rather than outcomes. Begin with the 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases over $50. When you feel the urge to buy something, wait 24 hours and ask yourself whether this purchase moves you closer to or further from your financial goals. This simple pause creates space for conscious decision-making instead of impulse-driven spending. Implement what I call invisible automation. Set up systems that automatically direct money toward wealth building before you have a chance to spend it. This might include automatic transfers to investment accounts, employer retirement plan contributions, or even automatic bill payments that prevent late fees and interest charges. Create environmental barriers to spending and environmental supports for saving. This could mean deleting shopping apps from your phone, keeping credit cards in a drawer at home instead of your wallet, or placing a photo of your financial goals in places where you typically make spending decisions. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all discretionary spending or live an austere lifestyle. It's to ensure that your spending aligns with your values and long-term goals rather than unconscious psychological impulses. When you spend money intentionally rather than habitually, you naturally redirect resources toward wealth-building activities. The path to financial freedom isn't paved with dramatic gestures or extreme sacrifices. It's built through small, consistent changes in daily habits that compound over time into significant wealth accumulation. By understanding the psychology behind your current patterns and implementing systems that support better financial decisions, you begin the transformation from unconscious wealth drainage to intentional wealth building. Start today by identifying just one invisible habit that's keeping you broke, and implement one small system to change it. Your future financial freedom depends not on earning more money, but on keeping and growing the money you already have. The habits keeping you broke aren't the obvious ones. They're the subtle, unconscious patterns that feel normal or even responsible but systematically drain your wealth over time. By developing awareness of these psychological traps and implementing simple systems to counteract them, you begin building the foundation for long-term financial success. If this resonated with you and you're ready to transform your relationship with money, subscribe for more insights into the psychology of wealth building. On the next episode, we're diving deep into the specific money-saving strategies that actually work in real life, and why most people implement them incorrectly.